All right, so move on to the next segment. I'll be sharing my boxing 2024 yearly awards. So this is my personal list of yearly awards if I had the honor of giving out yearly awards for the calendar year 2024 for the sport of boxing. So I'll be going over every award that could be handed out for the calendar year 2024, starting off with the Male Boxer of the Year. Male Boxer of the Year, I would have to give that to Alexander Usyk. Now, what Alexander Usyk did in the calendar year 2024, in my opinion, that makes him the Male Boxer of the Year. Became a two-time undisputed champion, being the first ever undisputed heavyweight champion that we've seen since Lennox Lewis did it in the late 90s, early 2000s. And Alexander Usyk became the first heavyweight in the modern day era in the sport of boxing, be a four-belt champion, a four-belt undisputed champion in the sport of boxing. So defeating Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, twice in the last 6 to 7 months alone, that has to mark you as the best fighter of 2024. We're talking about two back-to-back performances that a natural-born cruiserweight moved up to the heavyweight division, defeat one of the greatest heavyweights in this generation in Tyson Fury, giving Tyson Fury his only 2 losses of his boxing career. So what Alexander Usyk did, and especially in the second fight, making the fight look easy, basically outbeating Tyson Fury in my scorecard from a score of 8 rounds to 4 in favor of Alexander Usyk, I gotta say that he deserves to be 2024 Male Boxer of the Year. Now, Woman Fighter of the Year, I would give that to Katie Taylor. Katie Taylor went on to defeat Amanda Serrano in the rematch on that Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson card, which really should have been the main event of the card. But as I digress, Katie Taylor did go on to defeat Amanda Serrano and prove arguably that she's the best women's boxer on the planet today. Between her and Clarissa Shields, you got to debate who's number one. A lot of people, like myself, might say that Katie Taylor is number one, based off of defeating a caliber fighter, a Hall of Famer like Amanda Serrano twice on your resume. That speaks volumes. So adding 2 wins to her resume definitely helps her case of being one of the all-time great women boxers of all time. But based off of that fight and being a gladiator and defeating Amanda Serrano a month ago, I got to claim her as the female boxer of the year. Now, male boxing fight of the year, I would give that to Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk, the first fight. I think that's the best male boxing fight of the calendar year 2024. That one was way better than the second fight. Back and forth battle to decide who would be the undisputed heavyweight champion. I mean, everything was there. The build-up was great. The history of being the first ever undisputed champion in the 4-belt era at the heavyweight division, that was huge, and that was on the line. And you seen both in the first fight, Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk take more risk. They were being as cautious. They were laying it all on the line in the first fight, which set up for the 9th round, when Alexander Usyk nearly knocked out Tyson Fury, beating him pillar to post around the ring, landing 14 straight punches and nearly knocking out the Gypsy King. So it was fun and amazing to see the first fight between the two respective fighters, and nearly a natural-born cruiserweight giving Tyson Fury his first knockout loss. Almost happened in the first fight. So I gotta say, that was the best male fight of the calendar year 2024. Now, the best female boxing fight of 2024 would be the Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor Part 2. That rematch that we saw a month ago. Not only was this the best women's boxing fight of the calendar year 2024, but I would say that was the best fight in combat sports in the calendar year 2024, boxing or MMA. I think that was the best combat sports fight in the calendar year 2024, hands down. The epic rematch between Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor definitely lived up to the hype, and it's debatable to think about which fight is better, either the first fight or the second fight, because both fights went all the way down the wire, the final rounds, the final seconds. That definitely stole the show of the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson card, and that honestly should have been the main event of the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson card. But a really good back and forth action. There was drama with the accidental headbutt of Amanda Serrano, bleeding, still going all in for all 10 rounds. Action-packed, both ladies fighting, coming forward, back and forth combinations, counter-punching battle was beautiful to watch. I still believe that Amanda Serrano won that fight, but no matter how you call it, no matter who you had winning that night, you gotta say that was the best fight in the calendar year 2024 and has my vote of the best fight in boxing and MMA in the calendar year 2024. So that moves me to knockout of the year. So we've seen some really great knockouts. I gotta say that Gervonta Davis knockout on Frank Martin was the knockout of the year. And I'm gonna be completely honest, if it wasn't for that knockout that Max Holloway gave Justin Gaethje at UFC 300, I would have to say this Gervonta Davis knockout would be the best knockout in combat sports all year long in the calendar year 2024, if it wasn't for that knockout. But Gervonta Davis trapping Frank Martin on the ropes in the 8th round of that fight in June, I mean, the knockout finish was beautiful. You've seen the clips of Gervonta Davis practicing that with Coach Kenny and Coach Calvin in the back on the pads moments before that fight. And he went out there and did it. I mean, Gervonta Davis landed the left uppercut on Frank Martin, then had Frank Martin stunned in midair, and then hit Frank Martin with the left cross hook and left Frank Martin down on the canvas. I gotta say that knockout was probably the best knockout in the calendar year 2024 for sure. So definitely Gervonta Davis gets my vote for knockout of the year. Now, if we're moving to upset of the year, I would give that to Daniel Dubois defeating Anthony Joshua. Not only was this the upset of the year, but it was so one-sided affair that nobody saw coming when these respective heavyweights matched up against each other in September. I mean, Anthony Joshua got outbeat by Daniel Dubois probably 4 rounds out of the 5 rounds that the fight lasted. Daniel Dubois single-handedly dismantled and dominated Anthony Joshua, one of the greatest heavyweights of this generation, a former two-time unified heavyweight champion. I mean, Daniel Dubois sent Anthony Joshua to the canvas not once, not twice, not 3 times, but you guessed it, 4 times in that fight when they fought at Wembley Stadium, and basically left Anthony Joshua on the canvas knocked out cold. That performance right there and his first title defense with the IBF title, I gotta say that was probably the upset of the year, based off of how Daniel Dubois made it look so easy, based off of how Anthony Joshua cannot make adjustments to what Daniel Dubois was doing, and based off of how Daniel Dubois finished the job on Anthony Joshua. He got rocked and he got hurt, and then he hit Anthony Joshua with some counter punches and walked out of Wembley Stadium with the knockout victory, and still with that IBF title intact in his first title defense. So that right there alone, I have to say, was upset of the year. Now, trainer of the year, this one was pretty hard. Trainer of the year, I would give that to Robert Garcia. Now, Robert Garcia doesn't get the attention of trainers like Calvin Ford, like Derek James, like Bo Mack. There's several good trainers in the sport of boxing, but for the calendar year 2024, I would say Robert Garcia was the trainer of the year. I mean, his fighters had a combined record in the calendar year 2024 with 70 wins and 7 losses. And he helped a lot of his fighters have success this year. Look at Bam Rodriguez, a top 10 pound-for-pound fighter, and really shines in the smaller divisions. He helped Bam Rodriguez become a 2-division world champion this year. He also helped El Rayo become the super lightweight champion at the 140-pound division, holding the WBA title. Virgil Ortiz also had a good year as well. He's done a lot of good things in the calendar year 2024 for Robert Garcia being a trainer as well. And last but not least, prospect of the year, I will give that to Keyshawn Davis. I'll say Keyshawn Davis was prospect of the year. Keyshawn Davis went on to go 3-0 in the calendar year 2024 and has put the lightweight division on notice heading into 2025 because he's got a big title fight that's coming in February. And he also defeated 2 former world champions by knockout this year. That's being Jose Pedraza. He got Jose Pedraza, if you guys don't know, that's who Gervonta Davis beat for Gervonta Davis to win his first world title in the sport of boxing. So he knocked him out, and he also knocked out Gustavo Lemos last month in the sport of boxing. So I mean, he also handed him his second career loss, Lemos, by knocking him out in the 2nd round and making it look easy when he had his homecoming in Virginia. So now Keyshawn Davis, with all the momentum that he's gained, and all the, I would say, how do I put this? For Keyshawn Davis' sake, all the wisdom that he's gaining in the sport of boxing, and all gaining basically the wisdom and what it's like to be in the ring with former world champions, he has that heading into 2025, heading into his first world title fight for the WBO title against Denis, the Ukraine fighter. So if Keyshawn Davis wins that fight, becomes a world champion, the WBO world champion at lightweight, with all the titles being scattered around with Gervonta Davis and Shakur and Vasily Lomachenko holding the titles, we could possibly be seeing some title unifications in 2025. So we'll be on the lookout for that. But those are my 2024 boxing awards for the calendar year 2024.